Shed Wars is a global competition, Northern and Southern Hemisphere, 2 separate seasons, 2 separate teams with hundreds of participants, where we get together and share tips, ideas, and encouragement, trying to help each other grow more food. Along the way, there's a little bit of a friendly competition back and forth, a little smack talk, if you will, and occasionally you may see one team member calling out a team member from the other side. Don't worry, folks, it's all in good fun. Well, would you look who it is? It's John from Willett Grove, sneaking over the backyard fence, trying to see what's going on over here in Team Woodcutter territory. Well, don't mind me, John. I'm just back here grilling up a sausage link for my lunch. Look at that. Ah, doesn't that look good? You know, this kind of reminds me of something. What was it? Oh yeah, I remember now. Do you recall just a few short months ago when the Shed Wars competition was going on in the Southern Hemisphere, and a newcomer by the name of Lucky Luke at Feather and Down Homestead asked a simple question. Now, you recall what that question was, don't you, John? I'm sure you do. Luke was wondering if he could count his firewood as part of his weight. Now, us old hands know that you can't count your firewood as part of your weight for the Shed Wars competition. And all you had to do was tell him simply, no, you can't count that weight. But no, John, you had to be mean to Lucky Luke. Do you recall what I told you back then? I'm sure if you think hard enough about it, it'll come to mind. Well, I told you back then that when the time came, I was going to show you how to eat wood and like it. Now, most of us know that wood contains a complex molecule called cellulose, which is pretty hard for just about anything except for termites to digest. But did you know that certain things, like this sausage here, have a casing on the outside that is made out of cellulose? That's right, John. Now, the classic way of making a sausage, of course, is to empty out the intestines of the animal that you're going to making the sausage out of, clean them out thoroughly, wash them, and then pack the sausage back into that intestine as a casing. But given modern manufacturing techniques, they don't bother doing that anymore. They just take cellulose made out of wood to make the casings. So that's right, John. You, my friend, are eating wood. With the USDA allowing 3.5% cellulose to be included in any food product, well, you better believe they put it in everything. So read the label next time you're eating your favorite ice cream or pudding, baked goods, candies. You'll see it snuck in there in the form of cellulose powder, cellulose gum, microcrystallized cellulose. Wow! Is there anything that they won't do to sneak wood into your diet? And that cellulose, virgin cellulose, which is food-grade cellulose, actually comes from trees, which is just crazy because there are plenty of sources of vegetable cellulose out there. Have you considered lettuce? That particular vegetable is mostly cellulose and water. It has no nutritional value whatsoever. That's why I don't grow it. Here we go. And your appetite for eating wood doesn't stop at just ice cream, cookies, pies, sausages, cakes, candies, and other wonderful little goodies like that. Oh no, you eat wood in other ways too. For example, let's have a look at this little goodie here. What is it? Well, this is cinnamon. That's right. This particularly popular spice that many people like to eat on a wide variety of different things is actually the inner bark of a tree. One could call it wood. And you eat a lot of this, don't you? Alright, so I promised some friends of mine that I would show them my recipe for making rum chata, which starts out, of course, with a quart jar and cinnamon sticks. We'll just go ahead and empty those out. I've got another package right here. We're going to empty those out too. Now I've got a jar full of cinnamon sticks. We're going to take some rum. Doesn't have to be fancy rum, it just has to be rum. Preferably get something that doesn't taste like it's been filtered through somebody's dirty gym socks. There we go. Now we poured our rum into the jar just enough to cover up our cinnamon sticks. And we're going to let this sit for about a month or so to allow the cinnamon to leach out of that bark there. Now, mixing a spice or an herb of any sort with alcohol and allowing it to steep in the alcohol is called making a tincture, just in case you're wondering. So we're making a tincture of cinnamon using rum as our base. You could also call it a cinnamon extract. These are Inokitake mushrooms. Inokitake mushrooms originated in Japan. They're used as a seafood substitute. They taste, to me at least, a bit like crab, only they're a mushroom, and you'll never imagine what they grow on. Yep. Oh, did you guess? That's right. They grow on wood. Not just any wood, but hardwood. Specifically, that's right, that same kind of hardwood that you would use for fuel to heat your house with. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and cut open our package of Inokitake mushrooms here. Alright. So we've got our enoki mushrooms here, and all around here at the base we've got sawdust. That's the wood spawn that they were originally grown on. So I'm going to put them in a bowl here. Pardon me a minute. We're just going to go ahead and cut this. We want to cut it above where that white stuff is. Alright, let's have a look. Alright. Yep, that looks good. We can cook this up. I'm going to put this in some stir fry. It'll be nice and seafood flavored. But what I do with the rest of it now, that's going to be interesting. Can't eat it. It's got all that sawdust in there. But I could use this to inoculate a brand new batch of mushrooms. That's what we're going to do with that tub over there and those wood pellets. So come on, let's have a look. Okay, let's get started and have a look. We've got our tub here, which we're going to put our mushrooms in. Here we go. And we've got our hardwood. In this case, I'm going to be using these hardwood pellets used for pellet stoves. Firewood, in other words. And this is going to be my growing medium. That's right. Our food is going to be grown right out of this firewood. All right. We've got approximately 1 gallon of these hardwood pellets. And to that we're going to add approximately 1 gallon of boiling hot water, which I'm currently preparing in my infamous stainless steel tea kettle on the stove. That'll be just a minute or two, and whenever that kettle starts to howl, we'll go ahead and get these pellets hydrated. Of course, using boiling hot water also sterilizes those pellets as well. While we're waiting for our water to boil, I wanted to tell you about, well, this. This is rice. Now, ordinarily, whenever I'm making sushi, I use a short grain rice, but I happen to have a whole bunch of this long grain rice lying around. And incidentally, you don't have to use rice. You could use barley or millet or corn or oats or wheat or just about any other kind of grain you imagine, just as long as you have a good source of starches that you can cook down to provide a little extra food for your mushroom spawn early on to help them get going and help them get started right. In this case, I'm just going to be using the rice, and we'll use 1 handful of rice to about 1 quart of water. We're going to bring that to a boil and make sure that we just boil the snot out of the rice to release all of the starches from it. And once that cools down to about 70 degrees or so, we'll mix in the leftover sawdust spawn from the enoki mushrooms and allow them to start to grow in that medium. And then we'll inoculate our sawdust that we've hydrated and sterilized with that mushroom spawn. And here in a few weeks, we should have, out of that monotub, a crop of fresh enoki mushrooms. Won't that be wonderful? Okay, here we go. We got our boiling hot water. I'm going to open up my tub here. And I've got a utensil here for stirring, which has been thoroughly sanitized and sterilized. I'm just going to pour our boiling hot water over these chips. Why do we keep saying chips? They're wood pellets. Alright. Look at how they're just soaking up that water. They're soaking up and converting into sawdust right before our very eyes. Now I've taken those wood pellets, having saturated them with hot water. They've expanded to at least double their size, which has enabled me to divide them up into 2 containers, one here and one here, and those are cooling off. I've taken that handful of rice and a quart of water, and I put in a tablespoon of sugar just to help speed things along, and boiled it down until I have this nice mush here, which is still way too hot to be adding any sort of mushroom spawn to. It would kill it. So we have to let this cool off. But while that's going on, I want to show you something. There are any number of different mushrooms that can be grown on wood chips. We've got reishi mushrooms, turkey tail mushrooms, amadou mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, the enoki mushrooms that we're growing today, the wine cap mushroom or King Stropharia, any number of different mushrooms. Even oyster mushrooms at times will grow on wood. And you might want to consider actually getting some trees to grow. They'll produce lots of wood quickly that you can grow mushrooms on. That's what this is, incidentally. This is a fast-growing tree, a black alder tree, or European alder tree. It's Alnus glutinosa, and I got this last year from a little nursery in wine country in Portugal. Incidentally, aside from providing a source of wood for your wood-loving mushrooms, alder trees have a few other benefits. They form mycorrhizal associations with both ectomycorrhizal fungi and arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi. So in a complex system of different types of trees, nut-bearing trees and fruit-bearing trees, bushes, shrubs, annuals, and perennials, having a few alder trees in the mix is a wonderful idea because they can form a network on both sides of the equation. They also form associations with bacteria at the root level, allowing them to draw nitrogen out of the atmosphere and fix it in nodules at the roots, providing fertilizer for the alder tree and for everything else around it. Whenever you cut these back for the wood, you can strip off the greenery and use that for your compost heap to supercharge it. So let's let you have a close look at the food that we mixed up here. This is just rice that we boiled down and we added some sugar to. It's sort of a Kickstarter. I'm just going to break it up, mash it up, way up with our wooden spatula here. And then we're going to find some of our mushroom spawn. That white stuff is the mycelium right there, growing in this. Of course, they grew this in a jar. Whenever it was first being grown, it was grown in a jar. And we're just going to take that and crumble it up and add it. All of that spawn there. That's left. Should be some living mycelium in that. Okay. Scrape that off. Living mycelium still in there. So we've got our rice with mycelium mixed in. This is our nutrient startup and the mycelium there. We've got our tubs full of substrate here, which is, of course, sawdust. Let's take a temperature reading. I am getting it says 85. That should be close enough. We want it somewhere under 90 degrees to get started here. And we're going to take half of our mycelium and rice mixed together. Doesn't that look yummy? Would you eat this? I don't know. Maybe you would. Maybe you would. But we're going to take about half of this, and we're just going to scoop that up and drop it on into there. A little bit more. There we go. And we're going to mix this into the sawdust. Look at that. We're just mixing it all up. Now the idea is here, if we keep this mixture at about 70 degrees for, about a month or so, the mycelium should run all the way through it, presuming we've successfully inoculated it. That's the big assumption we're making. We're assuming we're going to get this inoculated. And here in about a month or so, we can expose it to temperatures of about 80 degrees. That's about what it'll be outside. It's around 80 degrees in a month from now. And expose it to light. And if we're fortunate, we will see mushrooms, enoki mushrooms, forming here inside of this container. That's the idea anyway. So 70 degrees is sufficient to let the mycelium spread, but we're going to have to keep this in the dark during that time period. And then after about a month of allowing that mycelium to spread, there'll be time to expose them to light and to temperatures of about 80 degrees to produce a fruiting body. That's the mushroom. There we go. Works for me. Let's get this stuff mixed up. And really, I probably have a bit more sawdust here than I anticipated. I might need to take a portion of this once the mycelium start to run, and I'll divvy it up and move it out to places where I've got wood chips in the garden. And then we can just let some of these grow and grow wild. We'll have some wild enoki mushrooms growing. That would be kind of cool. Alright, so now we've got our inoculant mixed up inside of our medium. Going to bring this inside, keep it in the dark at 70 degrees for 1 month. Hey, that's all I've got for you today, good people. As always, if you found this video informative or entertaining, you know what to do. I will catch you next time. Go Team Woodcutter.